After the morning session and tea break, I think we are all energized to listen to none other than Professor Bikash Medhi. It's our pleasure with Dr. Shweta to moderate the session. And Dr. Bikash Medhi is Professor of Pharmacology at PGIMER, Chandigarh, which is my alma mater. I did my plastic surgery from the same institute. It's nice to see Dr. Bikash from there. And he has exceptionally impressive biodata, long biodata, but some of them are exemplary to mention here. He is the Editor-in-Chief of Indian Journal of Pharmacology, Editor-in-Chief Indian Journal of Pharmacological Sciences and Nanotechnology, and Drug Bulletin of PGIMER, which is existing for many, many decades. And he has a list of orations and achievements to his credit. But the greatest thing which I will like to mention is he is one of the dedicated scientists within 2% of scientists across the world conducted by Elsevier and Stanford University. So there are many more, but what is starking amongst all of us is his publications. He has published 10 books, 300 book chapters, and 650, maybe much more than 650 papers published in scientific world. So with this brief introduction, I could not read all of them, but I am very happy to introduce Dr. Bikash to speak on his topic. Dr. Bikash, please.
So thank you, sir. And can I put the slide here? Yeah. So thank you very much. And we listened to earlier speaker, especially Dr. Rajiv. So we just wanted to discuss, because all of us, we contribute to the journals, especially Indian journals. What should be the policy and how we can implement practically? We have a policy, but how it will be workable for practically? And what are the funding opportunities for a journal? Obviously, you understand the indexing and the governance is important. So I request put the slide so that the audience can see, Now to begin, you know that India is emerging as a superpower. Okay? So we wanted to make it that can you have a soft superpower in terms of scientific community, So I remember I went to Rottenham for a presentation. I had to work on snake bite. So I was called to stage that Dr. Modi will make a scary presentation. It was snake bite. I went and said that I understand the impact of our PM. I'm not Dr. Modi, I'm Dr. Medhi. But I could see the impact of our Prime Minister. So today, wherever you go, our impact should be there, and that is what we are looking. So you're looking at, scientific community as a community, how we can impact, and you can be a part of global partner for policy making. So if we're looking at that, there are so many steps have been taken in terms of, Atmanirbhar. Today you say that after the Operation Sindoor, we're just thinking that, can we not have like Voice of America and BBC, our broadcast? Why can't you have PubMed-like database or National Library? That this thing need to be addressed. So if you say that Atmanirbhar or Viksit Bharat by 2047, so that means we have to go in that, tell you the line. Now, before I begin, can I request to put the slide? Yeah.
Gone for tea. There is some technical hitch, so they are working on it. Just bear with us for a couple of minutes.
It's there on the smaller screen.
Should I wait?
Smaller screen, it is there.
Yeah, it is there. Okay. So I just wanted to brief that what is there in a global level. So if you look at that search engine, so you can say that example that, how many search engines are there, existing one. So that is why if we looking at in future that you can develop the database for India. So if you say that all the search engine we have, like PubMed, all the databases, so definitely we can make it a point that based on that, we can say that, all these search engines. So I just wanted to say that what is in a global level. So if you look at the general search engine, discipline-specific, aggregator, open level, and there is a collaborative platform. I just wanted to tell you one important thing. It's a story. One of these editor had come to Bombay, BMG editor, and some young fellow had asked, why can't you publish in Lancet in New England Journal of Medicine? He only uttered a word that you do not have a collaboration. You do not collaborate one department to another, one institute to another, how you can publish. So this is very important. Today if you say that why citations are more in case of US, because they only cite their own article. If you take an example, our student come and if an Indian journal, he take it, then invariably he'll get a reply, can you take it a European journal or American journal? Because we do not promote ourselves. That point has come that we need to promote ourselves, then only. So these are, database are there where you can search and definitely you can see the impact as a scientist or impact of a journal, looking at the H index and I index. But if you look at that, globally, you have a ORCID ID. And that's how we can look at that key feature of the ORCID ID, that unique for research identified, to see the impact of yourself as a scientist. So these are the points that are control over privacy and visibility, then automatic update of whatever you are doing currently, and definitely global recognition is comes. So if you say, as a scientist, you wanted to go globally, so definitely global visibility should be there. So we have a procedure for registration that all of us we understand, but we need to understand as the importance of how you are going to have a unique identification. So tomorrow, if you create, we have already created some of the database. So how it can be enhanced the visibility, and also, people can get to know that from these databases that this is a person and this is a person is working in that area. So we can have an efficient publication of the management and standard author identification and across the platform. So using ORCID ID effectively, but you can say that some of these databases, like you say Scopus, you say journal needs to be indexed in Scopus, then you'll get a visibility. A lot of people like PhD, they'll be calling that, can I get it published? Because university only accepts Scopus. So you can say that, total, 82 million records they kept at Scopus. And that is how the visibility through the worldwide. So if you look at that, high quality control, then you have a multidisciplinary approach. Then you can say that collaboration approach is there. And that is why it is more visible. Everybody said that Scopus is there or not. So similarly, Google Scholar, you can say that how many features are there, profile of the author, citation alert, everything is up to date once you register. So you can look at that enhanced discovery and visibility. Basically, you are looking for a quality standard visibility as a scientist. So these are key features of the Google Scholar. You can see that Google Scholar alert, then related article and references. So this is how we can go that how you can create optimized profile as a scientist, or advanced search technique, monitoring citation and setting up the alert. So this is how limitation of the Google Scholar also there. So when we develop a system, we must know that particular system has a limitation. So that when you develop, you can overcome the limitation, and that step need to be taken. So if you look at one of the important points is duplicate record. Okay, limited coverage of non-English. Today you say that, did you read any Russian article? Answer is no, because we do not understand that language. Did you read a Scandinavian article? Answer is no, because we do not read. We do not read a Chinese article. Does it mean scientifically they are inferior? It is not true. They may be much better compared to that. And that is why it is very important that, there should be system of, manual user. So if you look at the research gate, what it integrates, it says that facilitate networking and collaboration. Okay, so we get to know that who are the people working in which discipline. And when you plan for a near future, any of the research, definitely it will be encouraged. So these are the key features of, research. You can say that publication sharing, networking collaboration, or discussion forum, and that will help young researchers to contribute more in the future. So if you look at the research get effectively, definitely we have a profile and regularly it is shared, and definitely you will get an import. Obviously it has a limitation also. So if you say copyright content, how do you address that copyright concern? Or earlier there is a score, research gets score, and that also if you look at critically, it was actually misinterpretation. People who have a very few publications, they have a very high RG score, and that was been removed. And that is what one important point is, did you have a peer review? So this is how we can look at the PubMed, whole database. So all these key features, so we train the people for checking the PubMed. But one thing I'll just state that students should be trained. If you have a chemical, which database you go? You have a PubChem, you have a ToxNet, you have a Codex, and these are the databases also been important. So basically it is a reliable source, scientific literature, and support of evidence-based medicine. So there are a lot of points in terms of encouraging that, but how you can use the PubMed effectively, obviously you go for a basic search, you go for an advanced search. So we train the people, when they come join as a senior resident or junior resident particularly. So you can have a comparative all global database. I just put it comparatively. So if you say, can you access freely? Almost it is free, but last one, you need a subscription. What about content type, citation metrics, full text access, search filter, advanced? These are the points you are looking for it. Now coming to the question is, can India create similar database? So if you look at India, that we have a database, we started a vast diverse research output, and like PubMed or the Scopus, we have already created. So this is how we say that if you create an India-based database, that means as an Indian scientist or as an Indian doctors, as a scientist, you have a visibility in a global platform. So it should be affordable, it should be equitable to the researcher, and especially smaller institute. We always go to a peripheral medical college. How much accessibility is there? You know that many of the places you have a difficulty in internet, and we need to train also. So that is why we encourage. But one more thing is that key database, Indian Science has been already created, National Digital Library of India. So there we are collecting all the data and putting it. Second important point is, Sud Ganga. So there also if you can see that all the data we are creating as an Indian database. So here if you go for it, the domain specific database. So if you look at example of ICMR, what they're doing, I just remember DG had called a meeting, online meeting during the COVID of all the editors. Probably those journals more than 2 impact factor. So basic idea was, discussion was that can you improve the standard of the journal, of the Indian journal, maybe 500 plus journals. Then we had a physical meeting where all the editor comes. So this platform need to be created, because if you can make a policy, and the question is coming is how you are going to introduce or practically implement the policy. So you can say that we have an Indian Council of Social Science or CSR database. This database need to be looked at. But one thing is that when you create a database, data integrity and data security should be there. Data integrity and data security should be there. And that's how, if you look at Indian Research Foundation, they have created all this, Indian Research Information Network System. It has been already created. So there is a IN being center is there. So they collect, create, or showcase research, they put it, and they have an academic identification service, so they are working on a networking so that you can have a collaborative effect, and all the software has been developed so that they can connect to all the university and everything. So one of this implementation is that one nation, one subscription. Okay, so this has been launched on 25th of November 2024, and this is going to create a huge Indian database so that this system, ambition is we are going to have a self-reliant. So this is what, one nation, one subscription is there. So this is going to help us so that we have a self-reliant is there. But another, if you look at that, Anusandhan National Research Foundation. So this has been created under the Foundation Act 2023. And this is going to create that we can have a funding, and there is a huge funding, and definitely it is going to have a key function of all the people. But today, if you look at that, you have an idea, and you say, tomorrow I'm going to do it, and this tomorrow never comes. So we have to take a step. By this year, you're going to complete that. And that is why the policy, when you say policy type research, conduct and disseminate it. And today, if you say the policy which rule guidelines conducting the ethical, transparent research, there is a newspaper report that all our, when NDCT rule, like it is released on 2019, 19 March, and it becomes that all the biomedical research is accountable. But if you look at 2013, when we put notification for ethics committee, there are 840 ethics committee, it was assessed. There's a newspaper report that all these ethics committees, 70% in medical college is dysfunctional. How we are going to do it if it is practically happening in periphery? And that is what all the funding, everybody is responsible as a researcher, as an editor, or as an author. So when you talk about funding, because when the meeting was conducted, one of the idea is that to improve the standard of the journal, do you need a funding from the government? Because most of the society, some are very rich. For us, we have enough money. Then those journals which require the funding, we can get a funding. So this is what also one of the source that you know that we have an ICMR, you have a DST, DBT. So these are the funding agencies there. But how many funding it goes to a journal for an improvement? So this is how we can look, ICMR they contribute, or you can say DBT and DST, and this is how we have to look at how many. But if you look at the international also, there are a lot of funding agents, opportunity. But this funding opportunity, how much you get it because it is competitive. So if you take an example of, human frontier science program, and then you can say that UKD program, then these are, UKD program is there, then MARC, there are so many, but that need to be look at the conflict of interest if you get an educational grant also from some company. So there are challenges for an improvement of the journal from getting a funding, because then funding should be sustainable. Why? You get a funding, but after 3 years, it has been stopped. How you are going to sustain? So that is why you could say that intense competition, it is there, and there is a unique distribution for discipline or the particular region. So definitely it will be very difficult to sustain in a high-risk project, and that's how we have to see that. So based practice for funding, that can you have a sustainable system for that, and that's how. Now coming to indexing, you want a visibility, you want to keep the high standard. So if you look at that, how indexing is started, it was long back. If you look at the history, that 1460, the first indexing was started. Then you can remember the Simulan. So top indexing agency, if you say PubMed, Scopus, Web of Science. And you know the importance of this agency, because once you put, you can screen or you can search it. So importance is very important in terms of credibility and visibility or economic recognition. So all these journals, if you say any journal, is it indexed? What does it mean? It could be indexed in any of this indexing agency, but you specifically ask that is it indexed in Scopus, it is indexed in PubMed, is it available? So this is how we look for, obviously impact factor. Everybody said that I'm going to publish more than 10 impact factor, I'm going to publish more than 5. But if you look back, impact factor, it was actually for librarian. And if you look at the history, it was actually started as a able number. The father of American pharmacology is Abel, Sir Derek Abel, and he started the Abel number concept. So that if I work, I can put my Abel number. If my student work, they can put. So this become an impact. So I had written an article, you can read, impact of impact factor in Singapore journal. Impact of impact factor. Because if you look at the Russian journals, low impact factors. Does it mean it is bad? Because if you look at that, US, Europe, they only cite their own articles. So impact is very high. Even today, if I tell you, China has created the Einstein Foundation. They call all the scientists all over the world because they wanted to go for a scientific standard across the globe. And that is why it is very important to look at that our authors and also importance of, author levels in this academic career. So this we need to be work, and that is why all this institute responsibility is that you have an orientation program, even junior resident also. You need to know that, you cannot blame a person that how you plagiarize. You have to tell them this is copy paste and what is the regulation today, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. So unless you tell them how do you get to know that. We need all this training program, and definitely journal indexing is very, very important. So if you look at the indexing listing the journal database, otherwise it will no visibility will come in terms of quality. So this is how we go for the indexing database. Is it indexed in PubMed, Medline, Medical Life Sciences, or is it Scopus Web of Sciences? So definitely it will be more visibility. So we have Medline, so all of us we know that how to search. And definitely you can say that you can register in account, or you can have a PubMed tutorial also that's in mobile. So these are facilities, our online help is there. So we train all this database, how you check like Cochrane Library, or you say the conference proceeding also till today. Basically when you search anything, you need to know till today what is available. Maybe you check in the morning, but in the evening you have 800 more articles in a PubMed, in the database. So even what is going on in a clinical trial, like in India we check CTRI or clinical trial group. Every country's have a registration is there. So that is what we look for it. Definitely we rely on the Scopus or MBase, European database. But here the important point is, digital object identifier. So all permanent identification is there. So it is accurate citation and tracking is there. All these articles. And second thing is enhanced credibility. Once you do that, definitely it is enhanced credibility and it is a global dissemination. Whatever you want, today you are here, but you are visible globally. And that is what we have to. So we have a criteria for indexing. It's a rigorous peer review process, regular timely publication adherent. So one of this, when you apply to PubMed, what are the criteria they look for it? So when on June 1st, you get a report of your impact factor, it says that how many articles have been published from India and all the continent. They put the criteria, all the continent, how many articles from US, how many articles from Europe, and all the continent. And that is why you also keep a, editorial policy that all the people who are in the editorial board, where they are from, what is their expertise. So this is also very important to look at. But here it is problem is indexing is proliferation of peditory journal. Morning somebody said about peditory journal. Do you know? Like somebody said, in front of subdivision there is a board, you pay this amount of money, then there is a thesis. I went to one place of Nasik for a accreditation of hospital. I think they might have checked my name and they could find I'm an editor in 3 journals. And they said that we are also publishing. Then I said, okay, I wanted to see that. Finally, I came to know that they only do thesis work. So this is going to have a wrong impression. Our student will not learn because they outsource with paying money for a thesis. And thesis ready-made, they submitted it. So this is a huge, concern if you look at the future. So this is how manipulation of indexing, delayed indexing, pay to publish. So that is why if you say you're a middleman, what is your contribution? You should be in the forefront. Because if you say middle, I'm going to do it, you are nowhere right in left, then it is not acceptable. But coming to governance, you say we have a policy. Dr. Rajiv said that we can identify this is a wrong data. Because if you look at the regulator purview, what they say, when they assess, they say no action is indicated. And if there is an honest mistake, what he referred young person who did wrong, without intentional, they said voluntary action is indicated. But if you falsify, they say official action is indicated. This is 3 criteria you have to look for. No action, everything perfect, we follow the policy, and voluntary action if there is an honest mistake. But honest, if you falsify, and definitely official action is indicated. So this is how balance between academic freedom and accountability should be there. So this is how we go for a governance, how you're going to implement. So definitely you have a peer review. There is a question, how many people will go for a peer review? Usually you have a policy 2 reviewer in that, So, but there is a contraindication, you go to another 2 reviewers. So there is no number, but you are convincing as an editor that this data is authenticated, data integrity, and all this study have been done as per stipulated, guideline. Based on that, you are going to recommend. So this is how we go for a publication ethics committee and guideline. Definitely, we can have a policy for Indian policy, how funding decision of affecting journal quality and access. So is there any provision of the government that you can apply to the journal? Apply to the journal, from the journal, I wanted to improve, can you get a grant? There is no policy, but you can make an application. As I said, we had a couple of meetings, so we can do that. Indexing standard influenced by governor policy, so there should be governor policy. Like you say, today you take a flight, so there is no regulation of flight ticket. COVID, it was restricted to 20,000. From Chandigarh to Delhi, I spent maybe 50,000 rupees many times. There is no regulation. So once you have the regulation, it needs to be implemented. Why can't you stop the predatory journal? Because it's a mechanism, you put it in portal, you pay 1,000 rupees, and you get the number, and that's how they're running. All this website, it is looking like authentication, like there is a claim, we have a 5 impact factor, but journal started last year only. How can you have a 5 impact factor? So that is why we train the student, how do you identify predatory journal? So this is how objective of preventing predatory journal, protect researcher. Many times we go for an interview, and they are very happy that we publish 30 paper, and 90% paper in predatory journal, and it get rejected. Okay, so this is how establish uniform standard across the institute. It's an institute responsibility also. You put it in annual report. Why did you check that how many predatory journals you publish? And that should be, communicated to the people who are working. Improve global credibility. So definitely all these steps need to be taken. So there is a scope for application, like all university ethical. Like today, if you look at our infrastructure, we have 900 medical colleges. Even CSI 38 institute, ICMR 34 institute, 1400 plus university. So why we cannot make an uniform policy? We have an NMC, we have a UGC, all this, even Pharmacy Institute 2000, PCA is there, Nursing Council. So we need to, so can you prevent redundant publication? So if you look at the Jeffrey, they say pathology in publishing. So he put a checklist, how do you identify predatory journal? So this is how predatory journal, but if you know that, I work in pharmacology. I know 150 journalists there. So before I make a project, I always said, I'm going to publish in journal. You work on neuro, so you need to know that what the journal is there. So that is what it should be doing. But that when you do a casual approach, and you say that I'm not able to publish, it's a casual approach. Moment you read that, something right in the textbook, something in the figure, and obviously when you need to check the plagiarism. And even if you get it like that, still it is accepted, your skin is safe. So core principle is that you have a transparency, APC, and editorial policy and peer review. And second thing is accountability sharing and quality quantity assessment, because we have to give an importance to the quality of the journal. So it is also responsibility of institute. Like ICMR has released the guideline for publication policy. And that is for an ICMR institute. Every institute, they have a research integrity officer. So a couple of days back, I had gone for an investigation because of issue. So I called the research integrity officer because the claim in the newspaper was that it is fraud. So I had taken an undertaking from research integrity officer. So this thing to me, so there is a required clearance of submission, integrate ethics training, all these practice should be there. So this is how researcher responsibility. Obviously what you do, you follow your guideline, according to guideline, you take approval for all the regulatory authority, whether it is clinical research or experimental research, and that is why role of the library is that, like today, students submit a thesis. It's a library responsibility to check the plagiarism. We have an institute guideline, it should be less than 17%. If you send a paper, less than 10%. But please remember that you check plagiarism in the morning, you get 9%. You're going to write to the editor that I checked plagiarism by this software, this person, I got 9%. You are also requested to check the plagiarism because evening you check, there's a different result. And that is why it is very important to look at. So, can you have a regulatory approach or in a national body? Like you have an UGC, ICMR, NMC, PCI, all of them need to be, integrated. Then only you can say that issue in the national journal wasteless, how many journalists there? Today if I ask that, why can't you take a step to stop predatory journal? You get a mail, you pay 3,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees, people publish it because they're in a hurry. But this comes negative impact when you go for any forum. So that is what collaborate and with the Scopus and PubMed. So definitely we have a monitoring in an institute level or mandatory reform publication, independent peer review, or use analytic for database detection. So these are enforcement should be there. As I say, policy is there, but it is not practically implemented. So that should be there. So blacklisting publishing journal or publisher also. That in India, if I take an example of pharmacology, how many societies is there? I used to do it, 28 society. And there is no integration. If you ask the publisher how many association of the publisher, maybe more than 5 or 10. So it is also not integrated. So if you start a journal, so definitely there is an undertaking because when you go for a number, so publishing house is legally accountable. So this is how legal angle is come. But as I said in the mornings, it is the awareness. What earlier speaker said, even, sorry, I'll take 5 minutes. Even senior professor, they are not aware about publication. So you need to create an awareness. So this is how we follow global platform, COP guideline, or you say WME, or you say, International Committee for Medical Journal Editor, but we have an ICMR guideline. So we can adopt in the institute ICMR guideline as they created a research integrity officer. All this research, it has been scrutinized. But coming to AI, how you are going to accept? You check plagiarism by a software, but can you check AI? So when we had a meeting, it says that person who is writing on ChatGPT and AI, they are going to give a declaration. Because right now there is no method to check. But once you read, you get to know that it has been prepared by ChatGPT and AI. So this is how it says, but you say that all over, anything novel, you get an importance. I'll just give you an example. There's a medical officer from Maharashtra. He had written a paper, original paper, on scopiobite. It was sent to IGMR journal, half an hour it was rejected. Then he sent to the Lancet. Lancet only said, can you allow us to improve English? He said yes, and it was published. So we have to think of critical thinking, but if I give an example of an undergraduate student published in internal medicine, one of these archive of internal medicine, 20 impact factors, simple idea. And that is why novelty is important. If you give a chemotherapy, he developed a device of reducing temperature, and it was published in Archive of Internal. So let's come to the reality. Okay? You say rank 81 Global Innovation Index in 2005. Then 54 position out of 56 for global innovation. Rank 120 of 145. This is not to take it a negative one. We need to understand our reality. Okay? And that's how, if you look at an intellectual property, you go to medical college, you ask a simple question, how do you get a novelty certificate? They'll not be able to tell you. Okay? So this also need to be encouraged. So if you look at this picture, we contribute only 4%. We have 1400 universities, so many medical colleges, we contribute. And even if you take an example of knowledge index, number one is Switzerland, US, Sweden, UK, and Asian country, Switzerland is number one. So if you take it, how much we contribute? 1.38%. And that's how, if you look at the ASEAN countries, India contributes 4.9%. So whole thing is taken up by China, this area also. So this is how we go for it. Even national academies say that, can you make it an annual report? How much you have done the research for, cancer, particular cancer. So this is how many of us, we actually publish in predatory journal. So this is, you need to look at from, this data, that how many of us actually publish in predatory journal. And obviously we train the student, can you go to the website, you get to know that if you plan for an experimental study, what guideline, national guideline, international guideline, but we can create a bigger forum. We had a meeting, IJP, BJP, not BJP you are thinking, it is British Journal of Pharmacology. So if you can collaborate, I happen to be chairman of IUPAR for 4 years. We did a seminar on gender variability. How do you do clinical trial for male, female and others? We could publish in pharmacology research next day. So this need to be international collaboration should be there, and definitely I'd just like to conclude, we can build a policy, but that policy need to be implemented, strictly on an institutional level. So you can look at future and equitable funding, transparency, indexing, the governance, and definitely collaboration is very important. So that's how we do stable mind. But you know that if you present anything, whether it is deer or is it tiger, can you make it beautiful presentation so that it will be accepted? And you also see that, have you seen double hump camel? You get only in Leh or Nubra Valley or in Iran. So we are working on it. So what I'm trying to say is take any opportunity and do it practically. We have been working. So they carry almost 300 kilograms to that top hill in 13 minutes. And that's how we put it. So thank you very much. And this is our website. And this is my group. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much. That was a wonderful presentation, a thought-provoking one, I should say, as we reflect upon the future of medical publishing in India. Due to paucity of time, I think we'll be able to take just one question from the audience. Ma'am, please.
Thank you so much. I am Dr. Harleen Kaur. I am the editor of Indian Journal of Research in Homeopathy, sir. This is Scopus Index Journal from Ministry of Ayush. This is one journal. It took us a great deal to get Scopus Index, and we are now working on Web of Science indexing for, I would say, last 1 year. And journal indexing is not an easy job, sir. And I think in India, the paradox is that most of the medical researchers are basically, even the medical editors, they are either medical doctors or scientists, full-time doctors and scientists, who are additionally giving the journal's responsibility. I think here, Government of India can really intervene and give us a lot of hand-holding here, because like for Web of Science, if I am trying, I know that I would have to suffer an embargo for 1 year if my, my application is not found in order. Which actually, and if you go into the indexing, the intricacies that they want on your website, only on website right now I'm talking about, they're just very many. They are just limitless, So the points that we don't even know, we are ignorant, not because it's not a malpractice, we just don't even know. So I think here, if there's something that the policy, that you're talking about can be helped with, because owners, just like you're saying, what gives us a lot of database, agree, it's a very welcome decision. But then, unless the editors are, given some consultancy, there are many journals, many Indian science.
I request you to put your question in.
So is there something that we can do about that? Because good journals are losing out only because they don't have much guidance on indexing. Thank you, sir.
So thank you very much. You have rightly answered that, indexing is a visibility and quality. As you already said that you have to respond in 3 words, not beyond 3 words. So definitely what important point is when you go for indexing, that point is coming, are you regularly publishing on time? Second thing is editorial board. Is it all the content is reflecting with the expertise? So that 2 point is there, and even a past when you publish regularly, what is the impact of the article, So based on that you can get it. Obviously it takes time, so 1.5 years and 2 years, but you will be successful. Thank you very much.
So one small question I have, what's your take upon India developing its own credible indexing system to complement the global ones?
So
What
I
would you
have,
say?
I have already mentioned a couple of databases they have created. One nation, one subscription. So this is going to create, because as you can go on, like we talked about economy, 5th largest, fourth largest, 2027, maybe third largest. So we need to create that. We need to create that. And it should be have a global acceptability. When we create, it should have a global acceptability, but at the same time have a data integrity.
On one hand, we are like there are many structural gaps. Indian journals are still struggling to get indexed in PubMed, Scopus, etc. And with a vision of that, as we discussed, Atmanirbhar Bharat and all, I think this would be
this is going to help
the
us.
future.
This is going to help us. Yeah. So this is recently created, only last year only. So it will take around 3 years' time to get all the data, and then only you can go ahead.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much for an excellent session, sir. I request everybody to give him a warm round of applause. Thank you so much.